Welcome to Ideas in Action, Going Digital. This first video is about post-COVID business responses. I want to look at two fundamental ideas. The first one is ultimately business imperatives should drive technology investments. The second idea is that management fundamentally is about thriving in the short term in ways that are consistent with sustainable corporate success. Now, these sound almost like cliches. We're so familiar with them. But there are two things that you need to bear in mind about those statements. The first one is the research studies show over 35 years that they are fundamentally true. The second one is that if you deviate from these statements, these principles, then trouble does occur and will follow you around. Now, I'm going to try to demonstrate the applicability of these two ideas in action by looking at post-COVID business responses. And I'm going to do that through the research that we have done into the different ways in which organizations have utilized digital technologies in the period 2018 to 2023. So let's have a look at a figure that helps to visualize what they have been up to. In this figure, essentially all these organizations will be claiming to doing digital transformation, but they're doing it in different ways. They mean different things by digital transformation. And in fact, by January 2023, most of these organizations were thinking of digital transformation in terms of cost transformation using digital technologies, which is quite a limited use of these digital technologies. So if you look at this diagram, you will see that on the short-term side, there are organizations that are sweating the assets. In other words, not buying new digital technologies, but essentially sweating the old and getting as much value out of them as possible. And these are usually organizations that are struggling immensely with cash flow and getting business. Whereas the other short-termers here are channeling their investments, such as they are, into digital technologies, into maintaining business today. And what's interesting is that since June 2022, majority of these organizations, 40% of the 65%, were actually doing the top thing, basically struggling to survive. But by January 2023, the majority now were in the bottom left-hand corner of this diagram, channeling their digital investments into delivering business today. The essential message from this is that 65% of organizations are having a very short-term approach to what they call digital transformation. On the other hand, when you look on the right side, there are 35% of organizations that are taking a more long-term view. Some of them, about 20%, are just delaying the digital technology strategy. And they're doing a lot more of short-termism while trying to maintain their long-term digital technology investment trajectory, but spreading it over a long period of time. Then there are what I call the digital leaders, the 15% that are in the bottom right-hand corner of this diagram, that are basically adapting their strategy dynamically to the circumstances they're finding. They're building resilience in the way that they organize, utilizing digital technologies, and they see digital technologies as a primary catalyst of improving performance going forward, both in a crisis mode, but also at later dates in their trajectory over the next 5 years. Now, this shows you that basically organizations are responding in different ways to different business purposes, depending upon the circumstances they find themselves. All well and good. But let me assess this a little bit more deeply. I mean, first of all, you can see business imperatives are driving digital investments, but the short-termism can be actually quite dangerous. It can erode one's resilience for the next time crises occur, and it can erode your sustainability as a long-term business, but also it contributes to a digital divide between you and your peers in the same sector who might be gaining a lot more from their digital investments than you are, and gaining an advantage that could become irreversible if you're not careful. So you can see 35% of organizations in most sectors are trying to manage both short and long-term circumstances, but they have different levels of commitment depending upon where they're finding themselves at a particular moment in time. The next point I want to point out is that these digital leaders, it's about 15 to 24% of organizations, depending upon sector, they are actually gaining a lead. Let me give you some statistics to suggest what the lead might be. These come from the research I've done for LSC and Knowledge Capital Partners, but also they're consistent with other studies done on this. So the digital leaders seem to be averaging about 21 to 24% profit gain from their digital investments, which are actually twice as high as what the other organizations are getting, the digital laggards, who are nevertheless investing in digital and getting some benefit. The digital leaders are also getting 23% higher revenues than the digital laggards. They're also getting 7 to 21% higher market valuations. They are offering superior dividends, and they are actually widening the gap between those other organizations you see on that figure and themselves. And that's been going on since 2018 to 2023, the present time, that widening gap. So their ability to utilize digital investments technologies is increasing, and they are moving ahead in terms of their management ability with these technologies. Right, so what have I argued here? Well, I've argued that basically amongst the technological turbulence that we see, some management ideas remain perennially applicable. I've suggested what two those are. And I'm going to continue this series with other ideas in action that have a similar sort of weight in the way that they should be utilized. So thank you for listening to this first in a year-long series of ideas in action going digital. See you next time.